So the new Ultimate Spider-Man series had kind of a slow start at the beginning there, and then if you look at the overall progression of the series, we have a few little bumps as we go, and once we get to issue 13, we have a whoa kind of moment, and then issue 14 is more like whoa! And now I'm finally interested in the series. Howdy, I'm Kurt Williams, and today we're looking at issue 14 of Ultimate Spider-Man by Jonathon Hickman and Marco Checchetto. I haven't been the biggest advocate for this series since it came out. I feel like it's kind of a slow burn, kind of a watered-down Spider-Man story. I love Jonathon Hickman's writing, and I love Marco Cecchetto's art, but I feel like in this series, they're just not living up to their full potential. And overall, I've had a hard time staying engaged with this series. I've had to wait until a few issues come out, and then I kind of catch up a few issues at a time, but I just caught up yesterday, and the last couple issues definitely have me more engaged. We're finally getting into the thick of things. In case you're not familiar with the premise of this new Ultimate Universe, the maker, who's basically evil Reed Richards from the previous Ultimate Universe, which started in 2000, went to a new universe and made it so that all of the main superheroes just never had the chance to become superheroes, so he made it so the Spider never bit Peter Parker, and Captain America never received the Super Soldier Serum, and things like that, so there's no superheroes, and this world is run by the villains. Now, there were a few heroes that were left somehow, I forget how, and they know that within 2 years, the maker is going to return to this universe, and what these heroes want to do is prepare the people who are supposed to become superheroes for the maker's return in 2 years. And the cool thing about this series is that it goes in real time. So the series started just over a year ago, and within the series, we've had just over a year of progression. So when Peter Parker goes missing in issue 13, he's still missing a month later their time in issue 14. And what's happened is Spider-Man and Harry Osborn, who is the Green Goblin in this universe, have been kidnapped by Kraven the Hunter, who is really supposed to be killing them because he works for the Kingpin and the Kingpin works for the Maker, but he's Kraven and he has to hunt them, otherwise he feels like he didn't do a good job, so he puts them in the underground Savage Land, which is run by Mole Man, and he gives Peter and Harry a head start in the Savage Land, but then he's going to come and try to kill them. Now, issues 13 and 14 have a decidedly darker tone than the rest of the series. For the first 12 issues, we were just kind of having fun, getting to know this new Spider-Man, watching him try out his powers, make these new friends, all the fun stuff. Now we're getting into real stakes, like somebody dies in this latest issue, and I'm not going to tell you who, but it is a very big deal, and Peter's family is being threatened by this group of supervillains who run the world, and he's taking it very seriously, so it gets very dark very fast. Which kind of reminds me of the Back in Black storyline, which happened right after Civil War, when a hired assassin tried to kill Peter, but accidentally shot Aunt May, and then she ended up dying. And in that storyline, we saw Peter at his most serious, his most savage, and it was written by J. Michael Straczynski, which means it was very good. So now that Peter's family is being threatened in this new Ultimate series, we're seeing a little bit of that seriousness, a little bit of that savagery coming out of him, but not to the degree of the Back in Black storyline. In fact, a few issues ago, Mary Jane and Peter had a conversation about when things get serious, he's just gonna tell her they need to run, and that's it. And in this issue, issue 14, they finally have that moment, and I really feel like that moment could have been more dramatic. Like, you have a whole page of knowing that moment is going to come before it finally does, and it kind of ruins the drama of the moment, which I think speaks to the writer Jonathon Hickman's approach to this series, because as a writer, he is very dramatic, just not in the same way that other comic writers usually are. One of the reasons I love Hickman's writing is when he writes dialogue, it carries so much weight. The conversations are calm and analytical, there's a lot of periods, not a lot of exclamation points in his conversations, but every word that every character says really counts. It's like they really thought it through, they mean exactly what they're saying, and the implications of what they're saying are going to be huge. And that kind of language was perfect for the Fantastic Four series that he did for a while, and then it was perfect for the Secret Wars series that he did, because those were huge, earth-shattering events that involved really complex ideas. But I think that sense of weight in the dialogue is kind of misplaced in this series, or at least it's lost some of its magic. Most notably, and I've said this before, I think that Hickman's weak point is writing children. Pretty much every kid in every Hickman book speaks like they're an adult, and when you had Valeria Richards in the Fantastic Four series, who's supposed to be really, really smart, speaking like an adult, it made sense because she's incredibly smart. But when you have both of Peter Parker's kids speaking so formally, it just feels off. And I know that his son is supposed to be pretty smart. He reads a lot of books, he's well read, he's kind of introverted, and sure, Peter Parker is very smart himself. He probably inherited some brains from his dad, right? But it just feels a little bit weird. It's overly formal. There's way too much weight in these children's sentences. Especially considering most of the conversations they had in the first 12 issues weren't really that big of a scope. They weren't supposed to be that dramatic. They were just talking about everyday stuff. So why are they speaking so dramatically? Anyway, the point of all that is to say that now that we're finally in the place where Hickman can really put drama into every word, I feel like he's not leaning into it enough. And I wonder if that's maybe a creative choice of his. Maybe he's tried that kind of tone for a while and he played with it and then he got kind of bored of it and now he's trying something different. It's possible that maybe he's losing his touch, but I feel like maybe I just don't understand the tone that he's going for in this series. Now, this series was advertised as Kraven's Ultimate Hunt, which is of course a reference to Kraven's Last Hunt, which is one of the greatest Spider-Man stories of the 80s. And if you're hoping for something comparable, I have bad news for you, because this is a masterpiece and this is just kind of plot development. The Kraven's Last Hunt storyline is literary, it's fully immersive, it's visually striking. It was ahead of its time and it was indicative of the way the medium was shifting into the graphic novel format instead of just the monthly issues. In this issue, we have pretty much the basic components of the Kraven character that are necessary to giving him depth, but he's mostly just a crazy guy who wants to hunt people. So I find that a little disappointing, because one of the best things about the Ultimate Universe, or at least the Ultimate Universe that started in 2000, is that the writers were able to take all these stories over 40 years of history and distill them into something much cleaner, much more connected. They were able to take the essence of these characters and these plots that were so compelling for so long and put them into something much more streamlined and modern. And some characters in this new Ultimate Universe have been receiving that treatment. Like, I like what they're doing with Mole Man. I love that they're focusing on his relationship with his moloids as one of empathy and care, because I think that the Mole Man is best served when he's viewed as a character who has been bullied, and he's not going to bully anybody else because he knows how terrible it is, but he's going to get back at the bullies who bullied him. So I do like how they're treating the Mole Man. I don't really love how they're treating Kraven. I'm not all that interested in Mysterio yet. Jameson and Ben Parker have kind of a weird relationship that's kind of interesting to me, but mostly just kind of boring. Something that just popped up in the last couple issues that I am interested in is Peter Parker's son is getting to know the new Black Cat. They're only like a year apart age-wise, and they both have no idea what they're doing, and they had kind of a cute moment in this latest issue, so I'm pretty curious to see where that goes. I know I've barely talked about the art so far. That's because Checchetto's art kind of speaks for itself. You probably already know about him from the Daredevil run or from something before that, I'm sure. And overall, I'm fine with it. It's not my favorite art ever, but it's pretty good. I think in this issue, something that bugged me about the art was when they're in the Savage Land, there were panels where it seemed like he didn't even draw the background. He just left it up to the colorist, and then the colorist did not do a good job of making everything fit. Like this panel with the net or whatever that is just looks really silly to me, and panels like this just don't seem cohesive to me. I'm not really sure why they chose to draw it this way. But overall, Checchetto's doing a good job. He's one of the best artists that Marvel has on the payroll right now. So in conclusion, I am getting more interested in the series. I feel like it could be a little bit more dramatic, and I'm not sure why Hickman is kind of pumping the brakes on that. I'm hoping that as we get into the second year of this new Ultimate Universe, the stakes are going to start to ramp up. We're going to have a sense of where this is actually going. And it's nice to see kind of a hint of the tone that we had in the Back in Black storyline or in the Kraven's Last Hunt storylines. But if you want to really dig into those feelings, I'm not sure this Ultimate Spider-Man series is going to get you there. But I'm still buying it, obviously. It's one of the most popular comics coming out right now. I'm sure most people who buy comics are buying this with good reason. I'm sure plenty of people love it, and they should. I'm just more picky than most people. I know this. So I'm going to give issue 14 of Ultimate Spider-Man a rating of like a high 7. It's not quite an 8. I'm not blown away by it. I'm just starting to get more and more interested. I think overall the Ultimate Spider-Man story has been between a 6 and a 7 pretty much this whole time. So if you're not buying it yet, you really should be, or at least getting the trade paperback. I'm guessing there will only be 24, maybe 25 issues of this, so if you want to wait until they do like 12 issue at a time hardcovers, they probably will. Like I said in my last video, I've got a lot of things coming up in the channel, but I've also got a lot of things coming up in life, so it's going to be kind of busy for a while. I'm gonna do a bookshelf tour soon, and I'm still doing occasional collection tours of all of my issues. Let me know what state you'd like to see me visit every comic shop in next, and if you read this issue, what did you think?